Facebook. Hello, everybody. I'm Love Coach Scott Catamas with not one, not two, but three amazing, beautiful, intelligent, wise love coaches. And so with my teaching partner, Trish.
And the host.
Oh, that's right. You're the co-host of the show. The woman you see every week, except for April 2nd, every week. Trish, whom I love and adore. And we have Anna Prabha, who many of you might know from our Wednesday night empathy practice group that she leads. And making her debut, her debut on Straight Talk is Camila Love. Welcome. Yay. So when we decided that we were going to do a show together, I came up with a topic that I really look forward to hearing what each of these ladies have to say. How to manage a crazy brain in love. Now, before you get all love coachy and talking about what you tell other people, I'm going to ask each of us to maybe share when we've been crazy in love and maybe the price we've paid, or before we get to like the solutions part, let's do the vulnerable thing of what are some of the crazy things that we've done when we've been in new relationship energy, NRE, or as Roxy wants to rename it, NRP, new relationship psychosis. We're just talking about that. So who wants to go first? Who wants to share a story of when they had a Trish?
Well, I have a
Trish,
song.
by the way, is the co-host of the show. I want to make that clear.
I'm just teasing you. So I actually have the solve right now for new relationship psychosis, and it's called lobotomy. That's actually what I wanted to share. I'll pass it to someone else.
Trish just jumped to solutions.
You know what? I mean, I have stories I could share, but I'm also just like.
All right, I'll give my most embarrassing recent moment. The relationship that I would consider my most primary relationship over the last 4 years, in the first 6 months to a year of our relating. And yes, I was deeply in NRE, new relationship energy. And this is in a polyamorous context because I practice ethical non-monogamy. And so we were at our friend's wedding, and my partner and I were at our friend's wedding. And somehow I got really massively triggered by the amount of attention that my partner was getting by multiple people that had been previous partners of hers or current partners of hers. And I lost my marbles. I just exploded with something. And it was like we're out in the woods. It's this outdoor wedding that's an overnight camping event. And I don't know exactly what I said. I could not tell you. That's probably part of what happens with our brain. But I just lost my marbles and started just saying something really loud about how this wasn't okay and da-da-da-da. And my partner just ushered me into the tent. She's like, come on, honey, let's talk about this. Let's calm down. And it took about 2 hours of like her attention really helping me move through what was coming up for me around jealousy and protectiveness and ownership and all the things that do show up in our humanity. So not my finest moment. And, I was embarrassed and I didn't know who saw me and who didn't see me, but I was like yelling, lid off. And I'm here to tell you that we got through it. And it ended up being a beautiful evening. But these things happen.
Camila, I so appreciate your honesty about that. Because, it's like jealousy is a real thing, right? Sure. And of course, we don't want to get jealous and we don't want to act out and we don't want to do that crazy shit that we do when we're jealous. No. And I so appreciate, because you're a brilliant love coach, but I appreciate your humanity and your honesty, because it's true. I certainly have done crazy things when I got jealous. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you for yeah. Thank you
Camila, I really want to also just really appreciate how that you were, acting out and yelling and, just losing it. And I also appreciate your partner who, because she could have just, avoided you, kicked you to the curb, gave you the whole shoulder, walked the other way, went with another person. Do you know what I mean? Like Well, I'm not going with that crazy woman. In fact, who is that? Do you know who did she come with? Because not me. So I just really appreciate the connection in your relationship that she she was able to slow it down, really see you in pain, and feel that you really needed some attention and connection. Wow, that's beautiful.
True story. You nailed it, Anaprabha. Thank you. Hats off to Tori Love. She handled that so masterfully. She really took care of me in those moments where I was feeling insecure, and we really connected in love and re-entered the wedding party in a much better place. And it took some time. So yeah, even with all the training I've had and all the conscious polyamory I've lived and done, I have my moments of ugliness, as we all do.
Wow. Tori was on our show last week. Tori
was.
Yeah. All right. So, Anaprabha, do you have a crazy brain and love story you're willing to share?
Yeah, well, I just kind of really got into the whole energy tonight. I was like, I'm going on my date. I'm going on a first date, the new energy. I'm getting all dressed up, changed my clothes several times, ended up with the first thing that I tried on, how that goes. But that's the fun, the excitement, the looking forward to, like, there's no stories, right? There's no resentments. There's so many possibilities, right? So I was in that new relationship energy and what that feels like. And it felt really good. It feels really, really good, just really, really good. Like, yes. And I have several stories. I mean, I'll go to the jealousy one after, but the kind of like a cuter one. But this also way of losing, how you can just lose your focus, lose your concentration when you see your beloved, with my beloved from my high school love, high school, college, man, I was going to marry, but in high school, and we went to different schools. And I just got my driver's license and I was driving down this road and I saw him, and I'm like, Billy, and I basically almost ran into the stop sign. I almost was like seriously had a major accident there, and that's kind of what can happen really to me, when it's just like, just everything is, all the focus is there, all the focus is on wanting that connection, on feeling that energy, because it feels so good. And you just want to I just want to feel really immersed in it. And that's that really connectedness, that felt so good.
It's interesting that you give that story, because I was working with a client last week who got into a huge fight. She's got a very passionate relationship, and they go through periods where they're really, really tight, and then they have these big fights. And they had a big fight, and she was in a really bad car accident on the freeway and was lucky she didn't get killed. So you're right. It's like, it's like we've been laughing about kind of the funny part of it, but we get knocked out of our body, right? Yeah. And when we get knocked out of our body, we can hurt ourselves or hurt other people.
So true.
Yeah.
The other vulnerable one, to go with jealousy, to align with you, Kamala, which kind of ended the opposite, because I have a tendency wow, it just started to rain. Whoa, thank you, rain gods. We need it here. I'm in California. We're in California. Me and Scott, Trish, I think. We need rain. So this was really, and it's, for me, this jealousy aspect and this connectedness. And when it came up, it wasn't even, I didn't feel it was that severe, but I really needed this connection, and I expressed, a connection. Well, actually, it kind of happened that we're at a party. Okay, we're at a party. And, can other women just have some boundaries? Do they have to be like vamping on my man? Can I just have my man for a fucking minute by myself at a party? I want to dance, him and me. Leave him alone, women. Do you know what I mean? Like, leave him alone. Leave me. And right away, somebody's got to come in. And I'm like, hey, my energy was like, hey, enough. Like, he's mine, sort of energy, right? And of course, this particular boyfriend was a love avoidant. Love avoidant.
The max.
Yes, engulfment, right? The opposite of what.
Fear of engulfment.
Right, perfect moment. And it really, the energy really, I didn't feel was that severe. I mean, that was like the backstory, but we're so connected in that way. He felt it. And then it was like gone. Do you know what I mean? It was like, I felt shame too. I felt embarrassment. I felt shame. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, this Ash isn't such a big deal. It's a party. We're dancing. It's no big, you know what I mean? But that moment, the jealousy came, and that wanting the connection, wanting, we don't see each other very much, and just feeling this hunger, this like really hunger, like, can I just have a moment here? And right away it's like boom, and this and that, the other women. And since it was a little precarious, it even makes me more hyper vigilant, which actually runs in my system a lot, So yeah, that was, and that was painful and lonely there. So there was a separation happened. Yeah. It was, we got back together, but not in that same way that you, Kamala, where it was, hey, I get you. It's okay, babe. It's just a moment. We'll get over it. Hey, let's have a dance, that would have been fine. Yeah, great. But that's not how it went. Yeah.
Thank you.
Shame is big, right? Yeah. And then the closing down, right? Then contracting, not wanting to be seen, that core wound that I have. Yeah, really. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm so appreciating the honesty of these stories, because people watching can relate. And you said the key word, shame.
Yeah.
And of course, when we're in love, we so want to be seen as magnificent by the beloved. And then we do the crazy shit that then triggers our shame of, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Oh my God, now she's going to leave, how could they ever love me when they see what an idiot I am? So definitely we'll talk about shame tonight.
Yeah.
Trish, now you did a good bypass the first time, but I'm sure you gotta have this one.
I have lots of NRE stories. I'm totally a lover. I used to just fall crazy in love. It was just young Trish was just so cute. She's just like, it's love. And now I'm a little like, all right, girl. Whoa, bitch. Hold on. Whoa, Nelly. Yo. I know you. I know your game. Slow down. But I mean, gosh, there's NRE stuff would make me do crazy codependent things. Things like, like I just wrote a post that I'm going to be posting after the show tonight around just like the way that I would abandon myself in situations like this. And maybe you understand it too. It would look like that guy that you're really like crushing hard on, who might or might not actually give a fuck about you. He's like, I'm like, oh my God, he totally disrespected me in public, or didn't call me back, or whatever. And then I'm like, okay, you can come back. Like that was just some dumb, just young girl Trish stuff. Other things have been like, I moved from the most beautiful city on the planet, San Diego, where I like was sunbathing nude on Christmas Day and like had the most amazing life, to live with a boyfriend, because I was like, oh, I'd never done that before. That sounds like fun. After 4 months. 4 months in a landmark forum. And I was like, well, shit. You know what? Life is empty and meaningless, so I'm going to make meaning. just like if I were to think back on that, I'd be like, slow down. Maybe you want to take some chamomile and like sit and talk about some things. I don't know. A really good relationship. I've actually, God, some other things have looked a little like, when I was exploring polyamory with my partner, I I wasn't able to hold my arousal and my interest for both people
Mm.
in a loving, cohesive, balanced way. So then I was just like spending a lot of time with this significantly younger man who happened to be, you know, like submissive, and we were just having so much fun, and I was staying up like crazy late, and I would just come home not with the energy to support my partnership who I was living with. And so that actually taught me a lot about how to love more deeply and how to really respect another person's energy. Like, and what that looks like. Oh, you know, I can have friends even, you know, like when you meet a new friend, and you can even have the new relationship energy with new friends. You're like, oh my God, this person skates, or this person does this. Oh, they paint and they're so cool. You know, and then your other friends are like, hey, you want to bring me in? Or, you know, so there was like little places that it taught me how to love, to be more considerate, to love. Yeah, I do want to say that there's like the crazy endorphin rush of love and excitement can really wipe someone off their path, off their intention. And like even currently, I started dating a man recently that I was like, hey, I have things that I want to do. And you can either be on board or you can be a distraction. I don't mind a little distraction, but if you're not on board to support me in my life, you can bye, self-select out, thank you. And you know, like we went into the first date. Oh God. We went into the first date and I had a list of make or breaks. So I was like, do you want to play the make or break game? And he was like, okay. And we ended up going home from the date. Oh God. You probably haven't even heard this, Scott. We went home from the date. So we've had a couple phone calls at this point. It was really like, we're really well connected. We have these connections where he took me on, oh God, I love this person. He took me on the first date where we're at the park watching like volleyball players and really hot humans doing calisthenics. And we're both like, it's just like my most favorite date up to this point. We were just like, I don't know, it's hot here and then it's hot there. I don't know, it's just hot. And so then we ended up talking about like what we want in our lives and all these things. And it was, we have a lot of similarities. We had a lot of alignment and we're really like juiced up. And then I was like, do you want to do the make or break conversation? And he's like, yeah. And we ended up going home from the date, just totally disappointed, totally crying. We both cried for 2 weeks. Okay, maybe we didn't cry, but we were both disappointed. I cried in the car on the way home. We both cried at the park, recognizing that we didn't want the same things. Now, don't get me wrong, we came back 2 weeks later and we're like, you know, I'm willing to look at those make or breaks a little bit. Not as like a self-abandonment place, but as a for me it was like I'm willing to look at my non-desire to have children. I'm willing to look at it because there's a lot of fear there. There's something under it that I should look at, and this is a good opportunity for a loving person to hold my hand, literally, figuratively, while I look at this thing. So there's that.
Beautiful. That was a lot. That was rich.
Yeah.
We definitely got our money's worth from Trish. Trish, by the way, is the co-host of this show. She's on every week. I want people to know that.
Wait, hold on. Are you guys aware that I'm here every week? Have you forgotten? Are you missing me? Oh, did you know Scott's the co-host?
So you talked about codependence. And so my painful story is about a relationship I was in a long time ago. And I was in a relationship with somebody who was an addict. And I was born on Christmas Day. I grew up with a Messiah complex. So I was the rescuer and she was the victim. And I went bankrupt. I lost everything. I went from being an Emmy Award-winning television producer, making about $2,000 a week as a supervising producer on a nationally broadcast TV show, to everything, lost everything, including my freedom. Actually ended up in jail. And it was all as a result of choices I made because I was in love and with somebody that was really not healthy for me, not a healthy relationship. And by the way, I'm not blaming her. I take 100% responsibility. It was my choice to stay in that relationship. And it cost me everything, literally cost me everything. I have one of my closest friends recently ended a relationship that was also very toxic about 2 years ago. And one night we sat down and we figured out that that relationship cost him between $1 and $2 million, of lost revenue. If you take a look at all the time it, took up and how unproductive he was during those years, how productive he was before the relationship and since the relationship, and the difference literally in his, gross national product and all the other things, it cost him about between $1 and $2 million. So, and it cost me years of my life. So, when we are in love and it's a toxic relationship, right? Love, hate. And I like what Trish had said. That's what made me think about this of, a little bit of a distraction is a good thing, but we ultimately in long-term relationships have to look at, okay, how is this relationship impacting the other important parts of my life? How's it impacting my family relationships, my other friendships, my work life, my spiritual life, whatever is important to us, really important. And I think that that's where the crazy brain and love often makes errors that later we look back and go, wow, how many friends did I lose because that person was so possessive? How much money did I lose because I spent so much time in the toxicity of it all? Yeah. So.
Really well said, Scott. It reminds me of a podcast I heard from a relationship coach on the topic of codependency and are we in healthy relationships or not? And the idea of when we are in this NRE, we have blinders on. Like we literally have a whole slew of chemical reactions happening in our body, oxytocin, serotonin, flooding our brain. The oxytocin levels we experience when we're making love to a human being are the same level that women who are breastfeeding their baby have. Like wow. That shocked me when I learned that. So we are not fooling around with the bonding hormone that comes, oxytocin, when we're making love. And these blinders come on because we're so focused on the object of our affection that what might normally look like a yellow flag and cause us to pull back a little and consider, is this healthy? Is this a smart route to take? Do I want to walk forward in this direction? We miss that. We miss the yellow flags because we're in headstrong. So like Trish said, it's like this idea of pacing is extremely critical in the opening stages of relationship if we want to be able to see those yellow flags and respond in kind rather than just ignoring them and having blinders on.
Yeah, it's addiction. It is, and it's an intense chemical addiction, and we get addicted to the person, we get addicted to the high, and it feels so good when it's good. And look, there's a reason people become addicts, right? It's because we've got this pleasure memory that like, remember how good that felt, remember how good that felt, remember how good that felt. And, so, learning how to manage the pleasure memory.
Yeah, it is so true because our nervous systems, my nervous system, can get so off kilter because especially if we don't slow down before we get into a relationship, if we don't really tune in to our bodies and also ask questions, like, what are we, what's happening here? Like really, really deeply tuning in. Because my experience, if you're tuning in with an addict, I come from an alcoholic family, so I can go toward addicts, I can go toward someone who's unavailable, in some ways. It could even be more mysterious, that they're not necessarily an addict, but they're doing something else all the time. They're still not as available as maybe I would want them to be, you know? But I noticed when I was in this with this very strong relationship, we had went on for years and years and years. It was a deep, deep friendship, a deep, deep love, so connected on so many levels, except, you know, he was an avoidant. And I, because he was such an avoidant, then I was more anxious, you know, I was more the love fantasy, right? Thinking, oh, this is it'll work out. And my nervous system was always on high alert. You know, it's just so, and because I run like that anyway, it almost feels natural. It feels, and that's the thing you got to like, I had to really tune into, you know, like what is going on here? You know, this is, you know, in some way the adrenaline feels good. Adrenaline can feel really good, right? It's like a high, you know, it's an energy, and then you see each other, it's a high. But then when you're not connected, when he's not calling you as agreed upon, when he's disappearing, and all of a sudden everything is just what's happening. Am I being abandoned? Is he with somebody else? And I notice am I the only monogamous person on this panel, by the way? Scott, where are you these days, Scott?
I'm just single.
I'm
not even monogamous or poly. It's just me and my dogs, honey. So.
I'm just single.
Hella single.
Hella single. All right.
Hey, ladies, just saying, can you
saying,
like,
well, I'm kind of renegotiating in my situation. So I might be, you know, hey, hey. But so what I realized when I chose finally to separate, because I realized this is not healthy for my nervous system. I mean, this is just, I am just not in my body. I'm not getting things done. Or I'm just running myself so ragged, you know, which is also working so hard for love. That's what it is. Working really hard for love. Like how much do I want to work this hard for love? Like really taking stock, wait, who I am. I'm kind of this, I've done a lot of stuff in my life, you know, I mean, we're all amazing women, right? Like take a look, really. And I chose to separate. It took me a year. It took my nervous system a year. I was 1 year, I swear, I was driving on the 101 as we do in California, north or south. I was driving north on the 101. And all of a sudden I just felt, oh, this feels so good. I'm not thinking about him. I'm just focused on what I'm doing. I just feel calm, you know, and that was such a good learning that I was so clear. I never want to go back to that. I want to say so aware and be really hypervigilant that to take care of myself, self-empathy, right? To take care of myself, my nervous system, my body, you know, my life, you know, and, you know, tune in deeply, like deeply listen to myself, you know? So yeah, that's a little bit about, you know, the nervous system and just where we can go if we're not really paying attention. You know, we can get lost.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And congratulations on making that choice. And having known you for many years, I have seen how as difficult a choice that was for you, that it's been very good for you.
Yes, it's been really good. And also, you know, we maintain a really strong friendship. Yeah. And I mean, so we could really transition. We're like 30 years friends, you know, so we can transition to friends, lovers, really beloveds, like very allies in this life, like we're allies, you know, so we have a really good relationship.
So that brings up a great thing, which is to manage a crazy brain in love, really looking at what does all this mean? Who am I turning this person into? What are my expectations? And when those expectations are met, what's my interpretation of all of that, right? I'm getting the finger from Trish, who's the co-host of the show, so I better listen to what she has to say.
Oh my God, Scott. I'm going to sass you so hard. Fine later. You are going to get some hate mail. Not really. But
You're
you'll get
giving me the finger. You're giving me the finger there.
You're gonna get some really sassy gifts later in your inbox. You better wait.
All right, I can't wait.
By the way, I would like to, again, all you single ladies watching, Scott's single. I would like to set you up. I would love to set you up on a date with someone I know, but I'm a really heinous, horrendous, like, matchmaker. I'm just like really bad, so I just don't do that anymore.
It's all right.
Okay, well, so you guys know, maybe you don't know, but I'm part of this program called One Love, and One Love is a specific program that teaches children, young adults, college age kids, what healthy and unhealthy relationships look like signs of unhealthy and healthy relationships. Because I don't think that our society teaches us those things. And it was developed, this whole program, this whole free program is developed by a woman whose daughter was murdered by her boyfriend in high school after they broke up. So they were so surprised to find out that she was in an abusive relationship because she didn't know the signs and she didn't have anyone to talk to. So I want to first just kind of, before we answer the questions that Scott had that we're like asking you, I'd love to just kind of run down some of these, the top 10 signs of a healthy relationship, because we have already, pointed at all of them. So here's just the top 10. Do you want to have the healthy and unhealthy signs of relationships?
Absolutely. Go for it.
All right. We're going to go for unhealthy first because I want to end on a good note. Unhealthy signs of relationship.
All right, hold on. I'm going to gallery review because as you say each one, I want us to raise our hand if we've done that.
Here we go.
So if we've done it.
If we've done the unhealthy, we'll do the unhealthies first.
Or if we've experienced it.
Right. Okay. We've experienced it. That's
feels a little bit like strip poker. Here we go.
Like the people who are watching as well to really think about these things because it's so fucking subtle, right? I'm like, wow, this is so subtle. I'm even like telling my adult clients these things and they're like, wow, I didn't know. So, all right. Unhealthy signs of unhealthy relationship: intensity. So extreme, over the top, overwhelming, in your face. Yep. Possessiveness, manipulation, someone who's like trying to control actions or emotions with emotions. Sometimes I can totally like, I'm already a 3. Isolation, when you keep your friends or family away from you. Sabotage, when you're ruining reputations or achievements or success because you're insecure. Belittling, guilting, volatility, deflecting responsibility. Betrayal. Ooh. I hate to say that that's so now that we know some unhealthy signs, like we're all very human in both receiving and giving those experiences. And that's when we're looking at NRE or when we're looking at our relationships, and you're like, oh, well, what is healthy relationship? How do I manage how do I pull it back a little bit so I'm not just like, oh my God, you're the best thing on the planet and I'm going to totally keep you and touch you and keep you forever. Yeah, exactly. So these are some really good things to think about. Comfortable pace. And this is something that you've all have said is comfortable pace. When you notice that energy of like, oh, it has to move further, I've totally still working on managing that. Trust, confidence that your partner won't do anything to hurt you or ruin the relationship. Yeah. Honesty, truthful about what's real and alive for you. Independence, interdependence, respect, equality, kindness, accountability, healthy conflict, openly and respectfully discussing issues and confronting disagreements non-judgmentally. And that's where Love Coach Academy shines, right there. And fun. It takes, what is it, like 10 for everyone? Or is it 10 for everyone? 10 positive experiences for every one negative? So if
5
you're
to 30, yep.
5 to 30.
Yep.
5 to 30, the brain stores memory of painful encounters at 5 to 30 times greater than pleasurable encounters. 5 to 30. So that means every time you have an argument, you have to make love at least 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys suffer more from PTSD or have a predisposition to be more on the reptile brain side, probably more like 15 to 20, maybe even 30 positive experiences to balance out one bad fight.
And it's not just sex, though. It's actually like laughter and hikes and remembering how to get back into honest, intimate, vulnerable connection and enjoyment of another person.
Yeah.
Yep. How quick can you get back to the love? I think that is a really important measure for long-term relationships. Not to rush the emotional processing, but to focus on, okay, we're in a conflict and let's navigate this skillfully in a way that we know our intention is to get to connection on the other side. And how effectively can we manage that? Huge.
What are your favorite tools for doing that?
So many. But I like some of the things you said, Trish, around like respect and accountability and being able to have differences of opinions without judgment. I'm a mediator. In addition to being a relationship coach, I'm a certified mediator. I do a lot of conflict resolution work. So, a lot of it is really similar to what we teach in Love Coach Academy around empathetic listening. Like when I'm working with clients in mediations, so much of what I do is helping them listen to each other and understand the other person's perspective, opinion, experience, and validate it. Like whatever Scott's experience of our argument is not going to be the same as my experience of our argument. Hands down, 100% of the time, it's not going to be the same. And the goal is to understand each other, to give empathy to each other, to listen to each other, to say, you know what, Scott, I get it. You felt that way when I did blah, blah, blah. And it makes sense to me. I would feel similarly if I was in your shoes. And then when I get the same back from Scott, he understands my experience. He validates that that's, a reasonable way of experiencing life. From there, we have now acknowledged our different experience. And we can reconnect from a place of, it's okay that you felt the way you felt and I felt the way I felt. At the end of the day, what's most important is love. Let's come back to the love. And, shout out to my mom, who's also a mediator, Nora Laird. She works with couples and relationships a lot. And one of her sayings is, do you want to be right or do you want to be in the love? Because they can't coexist. And so that's actually a really useful tool in relationship to sort of check myself. Am I being right now? Because if I am, that's a space that suffocates love. They really don't coexist. So a really good tool is to notice when we're being right and to shift into love, because it's a value, it's a question of our values. I would rather be in the love than be right. I'm going to be right in my humanity all the freaking time. But if I can catch myself, if my partner can skillfully say, hey, it feels like you're being right now. Are you committed to that? That's what I need. That wake up call. Oh no, thank you for pointing it out. I'm being right now. And that's not what I'm committed to. I'm actually committed to connection and love. So it's shifting from one paradigm to the other.
Beautiful. Big twinkling there.
Yeah.
I respect that that's your choice because you have been a practicing attorney. And so people have paid you a lot of money to be right.
We'll blame it on the law degree.
And to prove that you're right in court. So, and realize you've established a lot of self-worth about being right. So it's very cool, given your background, that you actually have that awareness. I acknowledge that.
It takes some work, and you've helped me, Scott. get out of my prosecutorial lawyer-like questioning, which doesn't feel good for my partner, and get into listening empathetically.
What she's referencing is when we ask our partners or anybody we care about questions, are we asking with a prosecutorial tone? Why did you do that? Where were you? Versus childlike wonder. wow, why'd you do that? I really want to know why you still leave the toilet seat up. Notice how different that is, right? So just remember, childlike wonder. What's that, Trish?
It's a habit.
It's a habit. Yeah.
What I really loved about what you shared, Camilla, is that you were like you invited your partner to actually, like, you gave them something, a tool to use on you. Are you actually committed to being right now? Because if you are, that's a different game. We can play this game,
Mhm.
right? So it's a cool space to be.
Mhm.
Invite your
Mhm.
partner into the tools that work for you.
Totally.
Let's talk about substances.
Wait, one more thing.
Oh, I was just appreciating also, this brings in the whole aspect of vulnerability, right? Of, wow, because when we're willing not to be right, because somewhere the rightness is, there's a survival aspect, right? With the ego and in the relationship with the power dynamic. Wow, if I coerce, like surrender, so to speak, will they not respect me? Will they take advantage of the situation? Is it safe? So there has to be, I can appreciate in your relationship, you've also been able to be vulnerable and build trust, right? Because we do need to be, and it is part of, we have to be courageous, the character strength of courageous. We have to be able to be vulnerable in our relationship. We have to risk, right? Because that we have to step out on thin ice and risk, like, wow, I'm feeling really scared right now. I'm feeling like I'm really needing connection. I'm needing a hug. Just really reaching out and showing your vulnerable side, right? So that vulnerability and building trust in the relationship, and that willingness to, slow down and feel what's going on. Yeah.
A direction I wanted to just mention about, again, Crazy Brain in Love, is addiction, substances, that pattern that we could happen of, if we get drunk, we're gonna have great sex. If we get high, we're gonna have great sex. Getting high, whatever it is, whether it's ecstasy or alcohol or pot, we have like a certain, again, pleasure memory of how great it was that time we took ecstasy. We're having an argument, let's take ecstasy, right? When we get drunk, we're cool. And I want to acknowledge, I've had that. I've been in relationships like that, where substances became a crutch, and what started as a really cool experience became a habit that became destructive. So I just want to acknowledge that I've experienced that, and not now, but in my past. And I coach people that are still have that issue, have that challenge. So I just wanted to raise that as something that we have to be careful with when we're in love and we're trying to maintain that energy. We're trying to maintain a certain high frequency through the use of substances.
Oh man, I've totally used substances to, like, that's my previous fiance. He had this way about perfectly triggering all of my everything. Like, he was perfect in that. I'm like, thank you very much for triggering all the things all the time. Like, it was lots of like his voice raising would just scare me because I was slapped a lot as a child. Yeah, so I mean, there was just like some things. Anyway, he at a certain point, oh god, this is so vulnerable. Okay, brave. I'm being brave.
You're safe here.
and over on the internet.
Yeah.
I know people are watching.
Also very safe.
So, okay. We had gotten into an argument, and I was specifically about him dating this woman, and I was just having an abandonment fucking meltdown. It's probably one of the 50th times, and I just wasn't being heard. I was so scared, and I was fucking hysterical. Probably at this point, I was probably screaming, cycling thoughts for who God knows how many days. I was just like totally in a CPTSD trigger, and he slaps me.
Mm.
And from that point, I couldn't quite ever trust him or myself again in our relationship. I mean, for multiple reasons. If you really want to know how that works, you should call me. We'll have a conversation about it, about codependency and fawning. But side note, coming back is that, oh gosh, can you drop me into where we started here? Because I
We're
was
talking about when
Substances.
use substances to maintain or.
so what happened is that I never felt safe enough to share my feelings again. I never felt safe. I never felt like I could reach that level of vulnerability to be my honest self. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like I don't think that anyone in the state of just like having someone who's just like not even present and just like full on hysterical would be an easy thing. I'm taking ownership that it was probably really hard for him for a long time. And so what we would do is that we would use different substances, whether it's taking like shots of vodka. We would sit at the table to have conversations and literally drink a fucking like fifth of vodka. I mean, those were just some of the like, we called another substance couples therapy, because it was like, it would take the emotion out of it and we could just have a conversation. And that happened as our relationship got more and more closer to the end. It actually became like a habit for us. The substance became a habit so that we could finally connect. And that's one of the things that was just a big downfall for us. It was so personal.
Oh, that's
Thank you for
powerful.
sharing.
Yeah, that's super powerful, Trish. And ooh, you know, it's you know, the powerful thing is, you know, that's such a vulnerable share, Trish. So vulnerable. You know, and I can relate in a way as the PTSD and getting slapped I have a band, and years and years ago, we're up in Montreal, and the singer just never showed up. You know, it was guys, a bunch of guys that you know, and guys and gal in the band. And I was a Libra, right? Like so I could keep it all balanced. Right, exactly. So balancing out all these, you too? Oh, wow,
Yeah.
all 3 Libras and a Capricorn. That's why he's got his work in, women.
Poor Scott.
That's hilarious.
And, you know, and I said, listen, I really need you to be there on time tomorrow for sound check. And he looked at me and he didn't slap me, but the energy of a slap was there. The energy, just the energy of the slap, and that just the trigger that memory, you know, just because I'm hypervigilant in the remembrance. So, you know, so actually being slapped, what that felt like, you know, and how, you know, where it put you, how it triggered you back to the core wound, you know, that it's just not safe to share, not safe to show up, not safe to be who you are, you know. So good, thanks for sharing that, you know. You know, the sad thing, what I find, you know, with this share with we're talking about the substance, is that this is the way, if you're watching movies from all over the world right now, which we're at home, and I've seen Australian, New Zealand, American, everybody in English, a lot of English, everybody is drinking all the time. They're all good looking, very attractive, you know what I mean? Have their shit together. And it's just like nonstop at the pub, this, and they're just like, yes, it's totally fine. You see how you keep drinking, look at, if you keep drinking, look at this beautiful woman you're going to get, look at this handsome man you're going to get, you know, everything's good. And it's just so socially acceptable. And actually what it is, it's just causing each other to avoid intimacy. It's totally avoiding yourself, who's in front of you, anything real. There's nothing real is going to come out real, you know,
Mhm.
I mean, you maybe have this, it's not real. It's a way of avoiding. And so that's why I also appreciate here at Love Coach Academy, we really work with feelings, really focus in on what am I feeling?
Mm.
What am I needing? And we do it in a sober environment with a safe container of just, 100,000 or so. But learning that type of sharing, is really powerful. And it is a way of strengthening that muscle of being available. Like that's a question. How available am I for this relationship? How available are you, my partner? How available are you, beloved, to be with me? And really get real from that point.
We're going to bring in a friend of ours, Paul McFarland, in a moment. So Paul, give me 2 minutes. But, when Trish vulnerably talked about the slap and kind of what we're talking about, crazy things we do, I've started watching a really good limited series. It's on HBO, and it's called Big Little Lies. It's with Nicole Kidman, Reese Witherspoon, Meryl Streep, won a bunch of Emmy Awards. It's actually a few years old now, but I just am finally watching it, and was watching it last night. And there's this really incredible scene where Nicole Kidman and her husband get into an argument, and she slaps him, and she slaps him back. No, she slaps him, he slaps her back, and they get into this physical thing, which leads to animal sex and him fucking her from behind. And it's one of those, and they really did a brilliant job because it's simultaneously, it is kind of hot and it's also kind of repulsive. They really found that balance, right? Like she's kind of into it and she's really kind of not. And he's kind of into it. And then when it's over, they both are just not. It's like, the climax happens and then they both are kind of like, what have I done? And there's the repulsion. And then you see a scene with her the next night having a drink with her girlfriend, Reese Witherspoon, and it kind of comes up in a subtle way. And she asks, how often does that happen? She says, a lot. And I kind of like it, and it kind of disgusts me. And I'm just bringing that up because oftentimes fighting becomes an aphrodisiac and or a habit. We fight and then we get back together. We fight and we get back together. And I have coached too many couples where that's the dynamic. And there is, so I just want to bring up that part of it too, of again, the crazy brain in love, feels the fight because there's, they haven't learned how to do compassionate communication. Then there's the separation, and then the horror of I'm losing this person that I'm attached to. And so let's jump back into the relationship either through drugs, alcohol, or sex, right? Because that's the fastest way to get back into connection, but it isn't a substantial, healthy way to get back into connection. So I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's connected to what we're talking about in this moment.
Yesterday on the Self-Love Show, we had Misha on talking about restoring integrity and the accountability and his tools around accountability and like the art of a true apology. And it was a really, I sat there and I was like, oh wow, this tool, like, I don't know, that was a lot. Like I haven't really heard anything quite like that before. And I was like, wow, I have some serious things to look at that I want to like rewatch the video and kind of go back through this like way to be accountable without making an apology about myself, right? So it's like, a lot of the time, just in the sense of like playing with loverships, like if you want to be in connection, which for everyone who's watching and for everyone who's a panelist right now, who here has a value for connection and to stay in connection? Yeah, so we're here. And if I'm saying like, Ana Prava, I see how I impacted you, and this is like I can see the impact, and this is what it's created for you. But for me to say, will you forgive me, actually takes the whole apology and makes it about me.
Mhm.
Or even what I got from it was, if I say the thing I didn't know, kind of brushes the whole thing off. Like, oh, I didn't know and I was like, oh my God, how profound. So there's a place of coming back into connection when we get out of connection, when we get into these places of like abusiveness or unhealthy relationship patterns or in full on like NRE kind of stuff, but to have the tools that many coaches and Love Coach Academy can teach you to really come back into that healthy relationship approach, right? Because I mean, we're humans, we're animals, we're going to behave like animals most of the time. It's remembering to like, take your sticky note and be like, hey, when I'm a bitch, I should probably do the thing. I should probably do the thing. Like, oh, or like, we get into these patterns, we get into these cycles. So,
Trish, what I saw a lot of the show with Misha was very, very good. And what he also stressed, what comes up to mind at this moment, there was a lot of really good things, accountability and integrity, is not rushing the apology, not rushing. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's get over it, right? Get over it. What's your problem? Get over it. I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. I said I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Fine. Get over it. And he just really for a Venusian to hear the masculine, the Martian speak like that was, oh, okay. That's such good medicine for a Venusian to take time in the apology and to not make it about him, right? But to really try, to really go where, tune into what was happening and be accountable and be available and slow it down and seeing, if I feel that, feel his connection in that way.
Beautiful.
That's one of Scott's full on slow down.
Yeah.
Slow down.
Yeah, slow down. All hail Misha. Good job, Misha.
Good job, Misha.
Hey, speaking of very cool men, Mr. McFarlane has joined us. Hey, Paul.
Hey, well, if this show was in Dutch, because I was doing my daily Dutch practice, the last lesson would have been the title. Mijn vrienden verwachten dat ik me doe, which is, my friends expect me to participate.
Very good. Very good.
I mean, kismet, whatever,
Yeah, I love that. So what stands out for you on this topic, Paul?
Well, sorry, Trish, but I don't want to be primarily animal. I've been animals in previous lives. I remember.
I'm not saying that you have to be animal. I was never.
Oh, I know.
You don't have to negate it. It's okay.
Yeah, but it's so true that animals have sex and violent and they're tribal and they do all the things, and most people, I do agree, most people aren't much different than animals. The gender thing I always say is that if we were all walking in the woods together and a plane crashed and we ran to go help people and we saw bodies strewn, the first thing we do, whether we want to or not, is we identify by gender, even before alive. And the human level, where the flowering of real love can be, and consideration and compassion and intellectual understanding and all that, and then the level of divine where we no longer need a thing to love, we become love. The thing I like to emphasize is you don't drop the two levels, you become complete, which allows you to be an observer during animal sex, allows you to be compassionate to someone who isn't in the same spiritual realm, on and on and on. So that's what came up.
There we go. How very Paul McFarlane. You do Paul McFarlane so well. So
I
well.
practice regularly.
You give really good Paul
I
McCartney.
feel so naked. My books are most shelves are empty.
Is that because you pulled them out for that photo with you in the couch?
Yeah, they're in boxes over there.
You moving?
I wish.
That photo was amazing.
It's
Trying
me.
to pull it out. Hey, you know what? It's 9 o'clock. So we're going to do a quick wraparound. I want to hear from each person what you're up to. And I'm going to start by spotlighting tomorrow, the great Anuprabha, who is blessing us with her presence tonight, is going to be back leading our masterclass series. Anuprabha, tell us about what's going to happen tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time.
Well, so tomorrow morning, we're going to be harmonizing mind, body, and soul. And we're doing a harmonic attunement. So we're going to be diving deep using sound as a tool to clear and release trauma, right? So using I have like Tibetan bowls, crystal bowls. Paul McFarlane and I have been having a little sound check, trying to make things sound good.
Tuning forks.
Tuning forks, and just slowing down, working with the conscious breath, visualization, going into the body, right? Tuning into what's alive for us, where maybe did some trauma get trapped, right? And really tuning into where it got trapped, maybe what age, what does it have anything to say, and working with sound and frequency around that and sharing. We'll break into some groups, some smaller groups. And then we're going to be also working with some Tibetan warrior seed syllables. And that's just a little teaser if you want to come and check those out.
That sounds great. Now, this is part of a series of classes. Trish taught one of the classes recently. It's on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And so if anybody's interested in attending either just this class or participating in the whole class series, send me a private message on Facebook. I'm the only Scott Catamas on the planet. Easy to send me a private message. And that's tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Also, it will be recorded, and people who register either for the solo class or for the whole series, we send video recordings. So even if you can't be with us live, you can still get the video recording that we will make. So that's exciting. And if people want to reach you on Anuprabha because they fell in love with you and they, how do people best reach you?
They can reach me at anuprabha.com. That's my website. Or my email is anuprabhaproductions@gmail.com.
And let's spell that for people because.
Yeah, let's do that. ANU, should we write that in? ANUPRABHA Productions.
Right.
@gmail.com.
Or anuprabha.com.
That might be easier.
PRABHA.
Exactly. Yeah.
Cool. All right. And our other special guest, Camila.
All right. I came up with a special offering for anybody who is listening tonight. So I offer sessions to individuals as well as couples. And if you're in a poly relationship and you want to do work with more than one partner, that's also possible with me. So I'm giving a special discounted rate to folks who mention seeing me on this Love Coach Academy show. Okay. And I'm giving a package of 5 sessions for $750, which is just $150 each session, which is a steal. It's usually about $250 per session. Yeah. So I wanted to really offer that for folks in COVID. I know that it's an intense time in relationships and in homes for some families. And I know that finances are a little tight for people because of COVID too. So special offer, would love to work with you. You can find me on my website, transformintolove.com. Again, that's transformintolove.com. And you will notice I have 2 personas on Facebook, so don't get confused. Camila Love is my legal name, and you'll find all my lawyer professional stuff under that name. If you want to get me as a love coach and a sacred sexual healer, you'll find me on Facebook as Camila Peace, P-E-A-C-E. So transformintolove.com and Camila Peace, P-E-A-C-E.
Thank you. And the majority of people who watch this show actually watch the video replay. That's kind of how it plays. So will that offer be good for like a week?
I'll let that offer through the end of March if you mentioned that you saw me on the show.
Okay, great. Yeah, great. And I'm going to do a boost for this show because it was a really good show. So, and Trish, what's up for you, Trish?
What is up for me? I'm actually taking a slight break to really realign myself. Who knew? I'm gonna go boondocking, aka camping off the grid. So you can always find me on Thursdays with the Self Love Show, and we have some really amazing guests coming up. Actually, like there's a lot of really good juice if you want to like build better self love and confidence and self-esteem and different ways to communicate, move through conflict, and really just find yourself in better relationship. We're doing some stuff too.
Yes, we are. Beautiful. Okay. And thank you, Paul, for dropping in. And I guess I'm not taking any more clients on right now, but I do want to encourage everyone tomorrow to come to Anuprabha's class.
Yes.
And also tomorrow is Saturday night, and we've got a really amazing Saturday Night Alive show. I mean, some of the people that are on the show are incredible. We've got Andrew Harvey. The show, by the way, is dedicated to the divine feminine. So it's all women for the most part, except for myself and Andrew Harvey and our good friend Greg. And Andrew Harvey is incredible. We have Jean Houston. She is a legend. When I did my sound check with her today, she was telling me about when she was a young girl and she met Albert Einstein and had multiple conversations with Einstein, which I think is pretty cool. So I'm now only two steps removed from Albert Einstein. Anyway, she's going to be on. Rianne Easler is going to be with us. Claire Zamet. Viraja Prema, who was on the show recently. Just some really remarkable women. So definitely join us tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. And as always, we've got remarkable musicians and a magician. So join us for Saturday Night Alive tomorrow night. And I'll be back next week with my co-host, Trish, who's the co-host of the show, will be with me doing the show together as a co-host.
I love you.
I love you too. And we're going to have Eugene Headland is going to be on the show because he's got another online festival coming on that we're going to be teaching at. So we'll be talking all about that. Have a great week, everybody. Saturday Night Alive, Saturday morning with Anuprabha. Saturday Night Alive. See you all soon.